What is up, everybody? We are back once again with another edition of Wrestling Republic's Off the Air, immediately following NXT, and we are spring breaking. Not only are we spring breaking, but Drizzy, the only one of us normally that would be here that has children, is on spring break, and his internet is spring broken. So it is just me. And out in the DMV, the Tuesday night delight himself, Shoddy, but we're stoked to be here.
Oh yeah, man, Drizzy. I could get that internet fixed, bro. Get out of the boonies, man. But all jokes aside, man. Yeah, man, it was spring breaking tonight for NXT. You know, a little TV pay per view, they may say, and it was a fun show, man. We definitely enjoyed a lot of what happened tonight. Um, you know, this isn't a topic, but the start of the show, Miss Ava mentioned that this is going to change the dynamic of a lot what we're going to see in NXT for the foreseeable future. The draft is coming up, so as a fan of wrestling and WWE, it's an exciting time. A lot of you know these young talents are going to be moving up to the main roster. So say you're it's like graduation, right?
Fired up to be here. Absolutely. Michaela
Yeah,
Bell added all hearts. Absolutely. Thank you so much. We
appreciate you.
appreciate that so much. We've also got over in the comments on Instagram with wow, back to back from Sonny Dalton and Sandy. I love that. Yeah, back to back.
Back to
We're
back,
here. It's like we never left.
like the
Essentially,
like the Drake diss.
also shout out once again, Drizzy. Just not enough shout outs.
Yeah.
If that internet gets fixed in your area, do not hesitate to join. We will filter you right into the show because what a night. Oh, what a night. I was singing it and I may have been slightly overserved the other night after Dynasty when Swerve
hmm
Strickland won the AEW world title. But I was singing Oh, what a night and having the time of my life up in downtown LA. Oh, what a night tonight, though.
hmm
Shad, let's talk about this main event, dude.
Yes,
Dude,
sir.
whoop that trick. It
What?
happened.
I like it. I like
I,
it. I like it. I like it. Man, if you want to talk about someone that can really elevate this new era of NXT that we're getting into after the draft, it is this young man over here, Mr. Trick Williams, man. It was another banger match between these two, man. These two he got his dub finally against Dragonov. I liked it.
I mean, it's something that I feel like we've kind of been looking forward to almost since the outset of this show
Mhm.
because Trick's Rise coincided perfectly with us launching this sort of off the air on Tuesday
For
nights.
sure. For sure.
It's so cool to see it play out. What I did not expect is for it to be on this episode of Spring Breakin', where we would see the full culmination. I almost feel like it hasn't even set in yet in
Mhm.
some ways, right? Like this journey for him from Mello's sidekick, where we kind of started.
Mhm.
And I mean, not to like act like it's a parallel to us on this show, but since we did start the show, we've been tracking Trick's progress in all
Right.
three of us, and that's where I'm like, wish Driz was here too, right? Because all three of us have been on Trick. Trick's doing great. He's getting better every week. He's awesome in ring. We believe in him. You providing the insight on the Philadelphia background and everything when it comes to the
Former
Eagles
Eagle?
and everything. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like this is something that goes way back, and so I think it's I'm really excited to see what he can do with the title. I still don't feel like it's actually set in though, in a
Oh
weird
yeah.
way. The moment to me was Mania weekend. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that there, Shot?
The moment for Mania is a different moment for him. I think what you mentioned is the fact that this guy's story is about like actual progression. It's about being a person that was more of a sidekick and developing into his own and becoming his own rightful superstar. And I think that's the beauty of what we've seen from Trick Williams. He was Carmelo's lackey. He got in a great storyline with Carmelo Hayes. He, in a way, obviously it's a more personal feud, but Melo passed him the baton. And I thought Mania was important for him on that story because it kind of ended that. Where we were confused is the fact that they had to go against each other again to get to where we are tonight. And to that point, I do agree with you. It is a little odd because it feels like it should be on a more monumental stage, even if it's not at Mania weekend at Stand and Deliver. Maybe another pay per view, but needless to say, I thought it was an important milestone for him, becoming the champ, but also like beating Dragunov, like finally slaying the dragon. These guys have had, encounters before, and he hasn't been able to beat him. He finally is able to beat him, and major props to Ilya Dragunov. If this is his, swan song and going off to the main roster and leaving NXT, he left on a very high note because I think he helped add a great sense of like how Gunther elevated the belt in a way obviously it's the main belt, but kind of elevating in his own standard because he's that good of a professional wrestler and he's that renowned of a champion where he helped a lot of guys throughout the entire title reign. And I thought he helped Trick Williams a lot tonight. I think this was the right call. I think Trick Williams is the perfect world champion to have for NXT. He is got that star power, and if he's staying down there, I have no problem with it because that brand needs stars too, right? It's
Yes,
hard to
dude. I
like
mean,
the draft.
legitimately, I don't think you could have said it any better, too, because we're pretty aware of the fact it's looking a lot like with this impending draft. If you haven't
Mhm.
seen the draft episode of the daily broadcast, go do check that out on this YouTube
I took
channel.
I took both of them.
After, yeah, I did. Dragonov is going to the main roster.
Yeah.
Trick leaving NXT and losing this one wouldn't have made much sense. I do think this, made it a very much back against the wall scenario for Trick Williams, and
See,
that's the only part of it that you know.
and and that's the thing, right? And I don't want to, make it a daily thing where I'm comparing and contrasting old regimes. But normally, if Vince was running the show, if he saw a glimpse of star power in you, he'd poach you right there and then
Yeah.
without even an easy transition into it. He's just poaching you and throwing you into the deep water and seeing if you could sink or swim. Where Hunter's WWE and also, working hand in hand with Shawn Michaels, it is storyline driven. There is an end game to everything, and there's not a rush to get on guys and girls onto the main roster because it's not it's the developmental brand, but it's also a third brand, like they noted. They're treating it like a third show, which it is.
Well, and to your point, that's where I actually think this match, in a weird way, now that we've talked about it, discussed it out of the gates here, I
Hmm.
think will be looked upon more fondly in hindsight than it is right this second,
Yeah.
because of that factor, because this is the swan song for an otherworldly run out of Dragonov on
Yep.
NXT. It's also the comeuppance for a guy that's completely earned it on the other side in Trick Williams.
Yes.
And even though it felt a little bit devalued in relation to what we saw with the theatrics, with all of the bells and whistles, WrestleMania weekend, and immediately after, this will be a moment that we look back upon more fondly than we did maybe tonight, because
Yeah.
Trick winning the title is a huge deal. We definitely had another big moment this weekend with Swerve Strickland winning the AEW
Yeah.
World Title, to have all of this back to back. It's a lot. It's a lot of emotionally exhausted wrestling fans, especially if you're watching across the board.
Oh
And that
yeah.
is not Trick Williams or Ilya Dragunov's fault, nor is it NXT's fault.
hmm
What was delivered tonight was excellent.
We even saw a champion get grand. Like as wrestling fans, we've seen new champions back to back to back nights. We saw Becky get crowned last night, and we're getting Trick crowned tonight. I do feel you. It can be it's a
Yeah.
lot. It's a lot to regurgitate as a wrestling fan, but to your point, it's also a beautiful thing. Like Swerve creating history, and Trick also being a dominant champion, being also a minority in the wrestling space where minorities haven't been world champions historically from like centuries upon centuries. So
Yep.
this is a guy who's also, and then it's another point of this man. Like we've we've always loved these indie darlings that come into NXT into the WWE. Trick is one of these guys that is one of these NIL, maybe not NIL, but a former athlete coming into professional wrestling, right? Coming as a former NFL player on the Eagles, coming
Yep.
into the NOL and into the pro wrestling world and learning, as he goes through, and you wouldn't even know that, right? Like he's just
So
really
true.
good at it too.
Well, and I mean, think about the history, to your point too, that's been achieved the last few weeks. You look at, African American champions in wrestling, like you've mentioned, right? Kofi Kingston cannot go without mentioning. Ron
hmm
Simmons obviously
Oh yeah.
cannot go without mentioning when it comes to that. R Truth was a big role in that in TNA, winning that
hmm
NWA title as
Booker
well,
T.
winning the tag team titles this 2 weeks ago at Mania. And then you add Swerve Strickland making history in AEW. You add on top of that Trick Williams winning the title tonight. Very cool stuff. Very
Nah,
cool stuff for pro wrestling.
it's definitely dope, man. It as a minority myself, it's so cool to see having like just different ethnic backgrounds of champions across the board, man. Like
Absolutely.
Damian Priest being Latino, you know, Bailey being Latina as well. Like
Yep.
it's a cool thing when EO was champion, being a Japanese wrestler, like Mustafa Ali on TNA with the X division. It's I'm not trying to make this like a social thing at all for those in the comments,
Right.
but it's a cool thing, man. Like
It
wrestling
is.
has grown into a like very global phenomenon where you see different faces and different representations of different individuals across the board. And it's not what it was like back in the 80s and the 70s, and even a long portion of the 90s at times and whatnot. I mean, shoot, even in 2000s, to be honest with you.
Right.
But it's a dope thing, man. And salute to Trick Williams, man. We are all big Trick Willie fans here. Uh,
Yes.
I think he's going to do great things.
I I couldn't agree with you more, and you broke that down perfectly. Yes, it is. It's a cool time to be a wrestling fan. There's no doubt about that. Let's talk about though the rest of the card tonight. Let's talk about this women's triple threat match. Let's talk about Roxanne. Let's talk about Lyra. Let's talk about Tatum Paxley.
Tatum Tuesdays.
This okay. This match was awesome,
It
and
was my
I
favorite. It was my favorite match of the night, to
really
be honest
really
with you.
liked it. Yes, bell to bell too. But I'm gonna, dude. To me, the finish for a triple threat finish, that was absolutely, that was
Chef's
out of a
kiss.
Rubik's cube. I was like mentally like a little like, wait, what? There it is, and
hmm
it worked out perfect. I dug this. Roxanne showing her in ring IQ, Lyra looking awesome, Paxley looking
hmm
awesome, all legit challengers. This is the best booked women's division in wrestling still. I think it is
Yes.
after tonight.
Yes.
Shaw,
To
talk
not,
to me about it.
so even so one, yes, Clark is 100% right. If you disagree, you are delusional. Because we're gonna talk about the whole show. You look at the show. There was what, one, two, like four women segments. They took majority of the show. So that's always an incredible thing to see on NXT. I love NXT for that very reason. But let's talk about this match. This opened the show. This was a title match for the women's championship. It delivered. It definitely delivered. Um, the feud between Lyra and Tatum Paxley, I'm not gonna even get into the whole why Tatum Paxley is the greatest wrestler in the existence of the entire world at the moment. But their feud is so personal and they played on to it. I love the initial start of it where you know, Lyra just went straight into Tatum, and then Roxanne was just sitting on the ropes, just like kicking her feet, enjoying it. And these women are really good at wrestling, man. I think we know how good Roxanne is, bell for bell. She's someone that has a incredible feel for being an in-ring technician. She has great in-ring psychology. She's definitely like so brilliance to it, especially to the end of the match. Right, very creative how she's able to get
Yes.
that roll-up pin. But Tatum, bro, like she was showing her athleticism tonight,
Hmm.
and I thought this was a match where she shined like a diamond in ring. The 450 splash going into that, showing her agility, also being strong. She definitely did a thing. Lyra, no short of a slouch herself. Like these girls all had great chemistry, and it's one of those things where like I feel like you can plug and play any variation of a match or a feud between these three in a singles match, and it's going to be really good. So that goes with this division being stacked and being super well booked. I'm curious to see. I think Roxanne retaining is good. I think Roxanne staying in NXT is good as well. I've always said that I feel like
Yeah.
she needs to kind of be on that same road that we let Braun Breaker be in. You know, is she ready to go to main roster? Probably. She's probably good enough. But can we get her more ready and make her way more of a factor? Yeah. Let her have a title reign. Let her develop as a heel. There's a lot more meat on the bone. She's super young. There's a lot more girls she can feud with. You can build your next champ throughout the process. Lyra, I think she should probably stay too because she's still young as well. And I think she could potentially become a champion again. And then as well as Tatum, I think their feud is going to be one to watch for throughout this year.
Okay, to your point, you just hit me with a light bulb in my head on
So
Roxanne, on staying on NXT. Because she's absolutely ready for the main roster. But in some way, she's one of the few people that for some reason, there's something about her, whatever she does here, she can
mhm.
have all the success on NXT. And someday it's going to feel like Brian Danielson, like it's not enough because she's so
Yeah,
good,
yeah, that's a good comparison. I think she does have a little bit of a Brian Danielson
right?
factor to her because she's a smaller competitor, not as
Yeah.
big as the other women on the roster, but like you're just wowed by how good she does in ring, and that sells you a ticket to want to see her in every match, and that's what's gonna stick on the main roster. The thing is this: you need women who can lead matches. She can be a leader in a match when she gets onto the main roster, and I think the character is getting better week upon week as well. Like I think Drizzy may have compared it. It's got ties to a little bit of an AJ Lee with her character work as well on this heel run.
Yeah, it does. That's actually a great point. It does. It does. The AJ Lee backstory and everything. AJ, I mean, AJ was an absolute trailblazer, right? And
Oh yeah.
I'm not talking about Portland. So like at the end of the day, like that is a great comp as well. Like that, those ones add up. Okay, let's do though. Move on to our next topic here. This is a fun one because we're going to talk about the new quarter catch crew versus the family.
The family.
Tony D versus Chuck D. And no, I'm not talking about Public Enemy. I'm sorry, Charlie Dempsey. I had to.
Hey, we call him Chuck
That
D.
was
That
low
works.
hanging fruit. I was
Oh,
in my bag there. I felt like that was good.
that
That was
works.
fun. But yeah, it was. And I'm sorry. We got a comment from the last segment here from Crystal Claire that I love. Roxanne is 5 feet 1 inches tall. Yes, 5 foot
Yeah,
one,
she a little mini me.
5 foot one, and tons of fun.
Yeah,
Absolutely. No, but the new quarter catch crew, the fam, fun match tonight. Spine buster finish,
y'all gotta
which I
stop me for a
love.
second. You're not gonna say hi to your mom, and she said hi to us in the chat.
I gotta shout out my mom. She's giving me the
She put
100 and
she
she's
put three
laughing.
she put 300 like Chief Keef.
I love my mama. I love my mom. I
Sorry.
love you. Love you, mom. Absolutely. I have to. Yeah, thank you, by the way, too. I didn't even think of it like that. That's a great point. No, but um, we got new quarter catch, fam, spine buster finish. You know I'm a huge fan of the spine buster. And I like the usage. I like the usage rate out of Tony D. He's really starting to be serious for a guy that is basically playing a television character. And the most fun part about it to me is if you saw the interview with HBK over Mania weekend, they asked him about like, are you worried about losing Tony D to the main roster? He goes, no, I'm way more worried about somebody writing a really good mafia movie and losing him to Hollywood. And I was like, I love that. It's one of my favorite answers I heard all Mania weekend. It was
Great
all
line.
time. It was so good. It was so good because it's true. He's killing it every week in, week out. He's on his game. The Spine Buster edition. I dig it. The fam. He's not the champ yet.
Oh,
But are we
potentially.
looking at potentially Tony D and Trick Williams? Because sign me up, Shad. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, you can sign me up for that. Look, Tony D is a person that does deserve a lot of credit because his initial, introduction into NXT, a lot of people thought this was really gimmicky and silly, but he has kind of done a great job adding that, more mob boss persona to it and making it more serious. Having a family with him throughout the process has been beneficial. And I like the family, bro. Like we were talking about it before. I think they just aesthetically fit well all together. All four members walking down, it meshes. And Tony D'Angelo is a pretty underrated worker. Like he's got that brawler style of wrestling. He does his, you know, wrestling moves that we are used to seeing from the early stages of like during the 80s and 90s, quick punches, power moves. He's not going to do basic submissions, but it works and he can sell. Tony D'Angelo has something. And he's a guy that is going to be in the main event picture consistently because he's good at creating storylines and creating different ways of storylines. Being a mob boss, you can do stuff in different ways. And a potential feud with Trick Williams will be interesting because Tony D'Angelo is not really a baby face, but he's not really like a full on heel because the crowd likes him. And he's good at blending both ways. And I think him and Trick could be a good one. So yeah, who knows? Maybe that's the next champ after Trick whenever they call him up.
I like the idea for the rivalry. I think that's as fun as could be at some point. I will say though, if you told me that there'd be a guy that wears ribbed tank tops, we're not going to use the slang term for those on this program because it is family friendly over here at Wrestling Republic. But if you told me that there was a guy that wears ribbed tank tops that would be as over as he is, and I'd be as impressed with his work as I am playing a mafia character 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I would have told you you're out of your mind. Well, I've been proven wrong by Tony D'Angelo without
Mm,
question. The dude absolutely has every every ounce of whatever the it factor is.
yeah.
He's got it and he's got it bottled.
He's
And
gonna he's gonna fit well when he does get called up. I think the thing is this. I don't think the issue is Tony D getting called up and him not being ready. It's his supporting cast. All of them are still relatively green, so we kind of got to get them in place to hopefully, because I would like the family to come up all together at some point, right? Like I like how Legato is
Yeah.
together and LWO is all together within the shows. I feel like the family as a unit would make sense coming up together, but like I said, Stacks, Lu- Lucifino, whatever his name is, and then
Yeah.
uh yeah,
I'm
Rizzo
not trying to oversimplify it, Shad, but how can you be the Don if you don't have a family?
family, yeah.
And so it's like, they gotta go as a unit there. I think without question. It provides the strength. It don't get me wrong, that's not to discount the work that I actually think that that he's done
Yeah.
to improve.
and
But
been doing it for a while because he's been in the 2.0 era. So
yeah,
we're talking about what 2021. So we're talking about almost 3 going on 4 years now. He's been in this NXT circuit for a little bit. So like like I said, I don't get it confused that he's not being called up because he's not ready. I think he's ready. It's just he's got more stuff to do. He's one of those people that keeps the ball rolling in NXT, just like how Ciampa was on NXT for a minute, just like Gargano was on NXT for a minute. These guys could have been ready, but Adam Cole, right? Like they just benefit a lot for your program as well.
absolutely. Jordan Kirby said Dragonov is gonna get called up. Mark his words. Consider him marked, man. We
I
both
could see it
said the
happening.
same thing at like the 7 minute mark of the show, though. So if you can go back and mark those words, you're like 20 minutes. You had it. You're right there. Um, if you could just if you clip that, that'd be huge. I'm kidding. So shout out Ben Allison. What a legend. Let's talk about the women's division though. Speaking of, like you said, multiple segments in the women's division tonight. And not
Hmm.
only that, good ones. Jada Parker, Jada Parker, Fallon Henley.
Hit with the Parker.
I hit it with the Parker. I don't even know how that just like came out of me. Jada
Sound like a
Parker.
Boston person. Jada Parker.
I went Boston on that. I don't know why. I was a born Bostonian. No, sorry, but yeah, no, weird on the entrances. You and I watched it together,
Yeah.
dude. What was up with that? Come
Yeah.
on, like
Yeah, like I don't understand why you like she had her so Jada Parker's entrance is pretty dope. Like she's
yes,
walking in with her crew, she comes up and knocks the camera and it hits the cut to the side. Like I like that. She does her little like dance move. Like she oozes swag. Like she's got like that swagger just in her veins going in there. But Fallon Henley, man, what we had her entrance while I was watching like I don't even know like a Domino's commercial or a Pizza Hut commercial or something like that. Come on, man, that's not fair. Fallon Henley has been here for a little while. This is not even like I can't even call it a jobber entrance. Her entrance was literally during a picture in picture while somebody was scarfing down uh one of those Pizza Hut big boxes.
yeah, it makes no sense. Like Fallon, we've put over all these weeks.
Hmm.
Like we've done all of this work, and then I get that we broke up Briggs and Jensen. Why does it have to hurt Fallon after the fact? Because that's what it feels like.
It Fallon Henley's someone who I feel is very talented. Um she's got this, she's just like a very good team player in a sense. Like she's never had the opportunity to be the girl or be the champ or be like someone that you're like, oh yeah, Fallon's gonna get her time. But she's in a lot of different storylines. She's wrestling a lot of different girls, and she's doing a great job at it. So I do think it's more respect needing to be put on her name when it comes to that. But I mean, the match, it was a little rough. I'm gonna be real. Can't like everything all the time on this show, and I
Yeah,
didn't really like this match.
it was Jada goes over. She won.
Which
I
I
don't
can
really get
understand.
the full reason when it comes to that, but I will say though,
She's more over right now.
we have faux Ryback in the comments once again. And if you're the real Ryback, show your face, Ryback. We come on the show, join us, review NXT. If you're the faux Ryback, though, just like and subscribe because that means the world to us, and we
Yeah,
really appreciate
yeah,
it.
but to your point, I guess Jada is
Chris loves
more
Fallon Henley.
more over at this moment, but I don't know. It was definitely a filler match because they just had a little backstage interaction. I don't know what's gonna. I don't know what's next for Fallon or Jada Parker.
It
I
was
guess we'll just.
it was my one should have been better spot of the night. I think,
Yeah,
right? Like, or could have
it
been.
could have been better.
Yeah.
It was kind of below average of a match.
In it, the problem is Jada went over strongly, but it
Yeah,
didn't feel like it mattered as much as it should have. You
yeah. I
know?
mean, you have the first half, the first 2 minutes of the match playing during picture in picture,
Yep.
and then the next portion was the clunky part, and then towards the end it smoothed out and we had a cool ending. So it just felt like a roller coaster ride of stuff. It didn't kind of mesh that well.
100%. And speaking of things though that did actually mesh well,
Oh
and I did
yes.
not expect because I pre-complained. I'm going to admit it fully. Watching this live with Shad, contract signing wise, I'm like, you're telling me we're going to have a contract signing with no ropes and no table? None. Just a podium? What in the world are we looking at? And then we had jokes about, I had picked some pretty electric potential fill ins to be in the corner of Lola Vice for this
Yeah.
contract signing against
Street
Natalia
Street
Neidhart.
Jesus Street Jesus was not there.
It was not. It was not Jorge
Jorge
Masvidal.
Masvidal, my
It
boy.
wasn't, but it was Shayna Baszler. And I was hyped about it. Great response from the NXT crowd. Shayna is awesome as usual. Okay, how about that head kick?
Carmen Petrovic.
Carmen,
Hmm.
head kick, dead. One shot, dead. Like, I
Right
mean,
in the
that was
temple. Right in the temple.
lights out. The lights go out in Georgia all day long. That
For
was as good of a head kick as you get when it comes
yeah,
to roundhouses.
for a woman like that short, but hitting it that high of a kick, I was thoroughly like kind of shocked by it. But this was a really good contract signing. And I say that because this feud needed some it needed some momentum to go into it. You have a, you know, underground match set for next week. There's got to be more like violence and anger
It's a blood
going.
feud.
It's a blood feud. It needs to get into that. And this benefited both women because one, we got Shayna Baszler being the person in Lola Vice's corner. It makes full sense. Both of them having MMA backgrounds. Shayna being a legend in NXT. She may be a Mount Rushmore NXT Women's Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. With the ties to Natty as well on the main roster, feuds, partners, all of that. And then you just have the ability of Lola Vice showing that feistiness that she has, coming off very like organic. This felt like it was in her nature of something she did when she had press conferences against women going in before matches in MMA. She felt comfortable, and that's what had me excited. On the other side, Natty did not play tonight. Natty playing that veteran role, talking to a young talent, telling her that all you do is shake your rear end. I'm gonna beat you. Like that was a cold line.
Ooh,
Like I mean, it was some good stuff going on. I'm sorry, Lola said that to her, but Natty came in kind of basically telling her off and telling her like I'm a like the veteran move, saying that I've done this. I didn't seen the past. I didn't seen the present. If you really the future, I'm gonna have to beat respect to you, so you know, like a lot of great stuff. And of course, the kick from Carmen was solid. Them pushing each other, throwing out. It's gonna be good, man. And I'm definitely, if I could have any more confidence in a wrestler to give a good match for a young talent, it has to be Natty Neidhart. She is a person that is a coach in the ring, how she works with women, and she is probably one of the more brilliant minds in women's wrestling. Like, she's gonna be able to make this work with Lola, and I'm excited for next week.
I agree with you because this felt like almost a reset button for Natty. She's had some bad stuff handed her way across the desk that she's operated around as a professional. And tonight was really cool. She looked really strong, and it was awesome. And I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited for this match. I made the joke about Bloodsport and all of that last week, but I am legitimately excited about this match.
Me
Very
too.
excited about this match. Now, speaking of matches, let's stay in the women's division.
Oh,
Let's talk about this beach party
this
classic.
this was a low key dope match.
It was dope. Blair Davenport, Sol Ruka, Sol came out in the sponge. And when I'm talking sponge, I mean foam surfboard, which, as our resident SoCal guy here, like, that's neither here nor there. It was a short board, but that was a sponge. So don't know if it fully counts when it comes to weaponry, but the match itself was awesome.
Mhm.
Sol Ruka over the last month, I'm starting to believe. I'm starting to think.
She is also a California resident, by the way, Ontario, California.
Now we're talking right there. Inland Empire, by the way, further
Man,
away from the beach than I. But that's neither here nor there. I will say though, Soul has got me hooked as far as the gimmick and all of that. I loved the execution of this match, loved the execution of the finish, and I loved her getting the win. Do you see Sol
hmm
Ruka as a potential contender for the women's title?
yes, I think Sol Ruka is definitely someone who would have been in position for the women's title if she did not get injured last year. Um, I always say this, y'all know I'm a Tiffany Stratton truther. But Sol Ruka was kind of supposed to possibly be where Tiffany Stratton is, because we were wowed by the sheer athleticism, the spots that she's able to do in that. And it's unfortunate she got injured, but man, oh man, she has not missed a beat since returning. A solid bout. And this match was silly, funny, has all the funny props that you can have on a in a beach match, but they made the best of it. There was a lot of cool spots within it. The spot on the kiddie pool, and then the soul snatcher at the end on the surfboard. Like, that was a thing of beauty. That was probably one of the best soul snatchers I've seen her pull off. So I do
Yeah.
see her as a potential women's champion down the road, especially with her being a prominent babyface. Her feuding with a Roxanne Perez, that's something that kind of grabs my attention. And I'll say this: she is the surfer girl. This, that isn't just the entire gimmick. That is more of a way of life of what she is. She's got that like cool chill factor that we've seen in like a RVD, like in a Matt Riddle. Like, she can play that character in the women's division, and
Yeah.
like that's fine. Like, she's got like the hipster look to it, and I like that about her. Blair Davenport, she's so good too, and she plays her position as well as anybody can do. She is a imposing threat as a heel. She is just pure evil. She looks like a beast, but she does take the losses. She's kind of got the Shinsuke factor in the NXT Women's Division, where she's losing more matches than she's winning, and she's losing feuds to
Yeah,
kind of put the baby faces over. Is that a problem? I don't think so. I think that's just how the cards are dealt for her. But I mean, that's another person like we talk about this women's division. She's always going to be at the top of the card, just how great she is as well.
100%. Blair should not go without mentioning because I enjoyed this match. I had a blast with it. I thought it was fun as could be. Okay, we've had a blast. Speaking of having a blast on this show, and it is spring break. Not for you and I. No more school for us when it comes to this right now, but it is technically spring break, and I don't want to end on a negative note, but we've got Baron Corbin and Lexus King.
Okay.
And
We'll go
I
on a
gotta,
positive note after we talk about this
we
appropriately, I'm
will,
sure.
but I gotta say, what are we doing here? So, Baron Corbin is a part of a Sublime tag team
Mhm.
on NXT with Braun Breaker
Mhm.
merely a week ago.
Yep.
Merely 1 week ago. And then this week, he loses to Lexus King of what? Via coronation. He's the king of what?
Mhm.
It's just, he's the king of. it- I don't. But he's the. I don't. Explain to me, Shad. Explain to me.
it's it's kind of difficult because I think the appeal of Mr. Lexus King is more based off of who he is, the family lineage he has, and that's kind of what the initial vignettes were all about, right? Like he's Brian Pillman Jr., but he's making his own name. He's carving his own legacy. And we're not talking about that at all. We're not even talking about him trying to carve his legacy and a backstory. And you and I and Drizzy have done an amazing job trying to tie it in with past characters. You know, maybe thinking he becomes the loose cannon. I haven't seen any of it. He's trying to make his own character,
Yeah, it's
and
like,
it is a pretty lame character.
who is this guy?
Yeah, and
I can't figure it out.
I don't know either, bro. And they're trying to put him over. Corbin can take a loss uh from his shenanigans, hitting the low blow and all that. You know, it doesn't hurt him too much, and it's supposed to help Lexus. But here's the problem we're gonna get into, and it's the same problem that he ran into in AEW. There's gonna be better, younger people that are going to develop and potentially take his spot if he doesn't develop, right? You're in NXT.
Yeah,
You got the caveat of getting signed from being, and this isn't, and I'm not even saying he's bad. I think he's a solid in ring wrestler, and I think he's good for TV. He's done good stuff in AEW. He's showed promise initially over here. It's just the character hasn't clicked, and I don't. Yeah, there's not much of a character. All he is like, what's the difference between him and Austin Theory character wise, besides how they dress and the aesthetic and how they talk? Nothing. They're
nothing.
both just, you know, d bags who pick on people and stuff like that. That's
They're
all it
bullies.
really is. Yeah, they're bullies. He just got a cooler entrance, but Austin Theory looks cooler because he's not having them weird facial hairs.
It's so bizarre too with the look thing, and I feel bad because you know, you listen to Brian talk, and
Yeah,
he talks about like
great kid.
not, he wants to live up to his dad's legacy. He wants to achieve his own
Hmm.
stuff in wrestling, but like if you look at the pictures of his last few matches on television in AEW, say what you will about how he got there, how he was booked, how whatever. He looks exactly like Flying Brian from the Hollywood Blondes in
Yeah,
WCW in the 90s. And say what you will about Lexus King and this, but he looks exactly like his father
Hmm.
as the loose cannon. He does.
And it's gonna be hard to shake off. I'm telling you, bro. Like it's just the unfortunate situation. Dominic Mysterio is gonna always be tied to Rey Mysterio, and that's the you know what that's an example though, right? Dom is always tied to Ray, but
Yep.
Dom found a footing in a character that worked,
He
and
found a
it
niche.
developed. He
He
found a
found
niche.
a nook. He found a
Yeah,
cranny. He found a spot.
yeah, and Lexus just needs to find that. But having him be like I don't think he's like a premier top guy yet. Like I'd have him work the ringer in the mid card. Work with some like different type of characters. Maybe have him work with a Joe Gacy, right? Have him work with a
Yes.
Sean Spears right now. Especially because him and Sean Spears probably have familiarity with each other. He worked a whole like angle with him with MJF when he was still part of the Pinnacle. Like there's stuff that get get
That's a
with some
great
guys
point.
that are gonna make you get out of the box
And
because
have a
I
blood feud.
have a blood
I
feud.
want to see some emotion,
I
right?
think I think Gacy's the perfect guy for him.
Gacy makes great sense. Gacy or Spears. I think you nailed both of
Because
the two that I would.
and obviously we're about to end soon.
No
The
worries.
reason I say those two is because you alluded to a story initially when you came up with him, and a lot of it has to do within his within himself, within his family, his relationship with his father, all of that. Spears is going to attack that. He's gonna do all those like crazy Jedi mind tricks he does, and he can make him drive to a crazy and get to that loose cannon type of
Yeah.
persona. Gacy, same thing. Like he has that eerie way where he's gonna, mess with you and he can get that out of you. That's something he needs to get with, not going against guys who are like just in the development ranks on NXT, working these NXT level ups, just stacking up wins because that ain't gonna work.
What's even like to your point, I want to see what he can do when somebody gets under his skin and he can really respond.
Hmm.
He's given the space to actually respond once somebody's gotten under his skin, right? That is what I'm most interested in. But that does actually bring us to the end of the show. It's been a blast
Yeah.
all day hanging. Me and Shoddy. You will actually be back tomorrow for the daily, right? Correct.
Yeah, bro. You and me
All right. Yeah.
tomorrow,
Yeah.
Thursday. We
We're
we
hanging out
we
all
we
week.
rocking
We're hanging
all
out
week.
all week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me and Shoddy will be hanging all week. But we've got all kinds of good stuff. Same time, same place next week for this show. Tomorrow, that's noon Pacific. That's 3 on the East Coast. That's 2 Central. That's 8 o'clock in the UK. And of course, 9 a.m. in Hawaii. If you haven't already liked and subscribed, please do. We appreciate you so much. On behalf of me, Clark Taylor, and Shoddy, the Tuesday Night Delight, have a great Tuesday. And we'll see
Peace.
y'all